It's quite strange with this piece because I remember it as being just incredibly romantic. I don't think I remembered much else about it apart from that she was extraordinary in it and the romance of it and everything. And obviously I read it just before we started filming, so over the summer, and I didn't find it that romantic at all. I found it much, much darker, and the question of whether Anna Karenina is the hero or the heroine or the anti-heroine, I thought was quite a huge one, and it was something that I didn't remember from reading it when I was younger at all. So I guess that's the sort of definition of a classic, because it changes as you change. My view of Anna Karenina has changed quite a lot, and a lot of the times I didn't like her, and a lot of the times everybody making this film didn't like her. And then again, I've completely understood her and loved her at the same time, and I think that's the beauty of the character, you know, is that you can hate what she does. She's duplicitous, she's deceptive, she's cruel, and yet she's also kind and loving and honest at exactly the same time. And it's been fascinating trying to kind of capture all that, but it is very difficult when you're playing a character, and a lot of people on set when you're doing a scene are going, I hate her, and you think, oh God, am I playing it wrong? Should I be making sure that everybody likes her? And then again going back to, well, is that the point that the story is trying to tell? I think you do have characters that should be loved. I've played a lot of them. I think Elizabeth Bennet, for example, is a character that she's absolutely there to be loved, I think. This one is there, but I think she's there to challenge as much as anything, challenge your own behaviour. I think one of the things I was just most impressed by was getting a book that's, 820 pages down to a script that I think is 134. I mean, that in itself is an extraordinary thing, and not to lose the essence of it, in all of the characters. The Levin and Kitty storyline often suffers, I think, in adaptations of this, and yet it's an incredibly important storyline to give the balance of the whole piece, So I thought it was an extraordinary feat to be able to truthfully tell this story in such a short amount of time. Working with Larbi has been absolutely fascinating, because it's not a world I know anything about. It's not how I express myself artistically, and also my body's not really up to it. So it was amazing sort of working with somebody who expresses himself emotionally through movement, and trying to understand how you could fit that into the character that you're playing. It's a whole new set of skills that I'd never really used before, and suddenly, went, okay, well, let's see what we can do here and how to use it. And it's been amazing. It has been phenomenally challenging for absolutely everybody. I mean, and especially the actors. I think Joe is a director that is very performance orientated, but this is taking style to a whole new level. So the focus has been on the style a lot more than the performance. And so trying to fit into that and trying to give the performances that he wanted and that we all wanted to give, but in this incredibly stylized way of shooting, has been a real challenge. We have popped quite a lot of 50s couture in here. I mean, I think, again, if you're talking about this concept being quite freeing, the rules of a period film that Joe normally adheres to very strictly have been completely broken, and that goes for the costume as well, and yes, I mean, we're looking at more 50s couture than 1873, but obviously we're sort of paying homage to 1873 and to 1950s, but I mean, I think that's been very liberating style-wise for all of us, is sort of not having to be totally strictly in that one time period. The Russian aristocracy at that time, a lot of them didn't know how to speak Russian, they spoke French. So they were constantly looking to Europe, particularly to France, and trying to emulate that kind of French way of being. Quite a lot of them couldn't speak to vast majorities of the people in their own country because they had a complete language barrier. And I think, that was something, the concept fascinated all of us, that there was this complete divide between rich and poor, it literally being a language divide. Now, we haven't done that in this film because we're all speaking English, so you can't, but I think partly that kind of idea of the stage, and the reason that he set this piece in the theatre, and the reason I think it works being set in the theatre is because you did have these people that were pretending to be something that they weren't all the time. That society was about pretending to be something that it wasn't, and in that way I think we've reflected that in the theatre, even though we couldn't actually literally do it with the language.